Hey everybody, welcome back to another Ionic video. In this video I just wanted to walk through a component that I built recently. I actually did a blog post on this one. So it's an accordion list for Ionic, but I took a sort of different approach to this. I wanted to make a really high performance component. The problem with accordion lists in general are that if we want to have them animated, which generally looks a bit nicer than the content just sort of popping in when we open them, you'll notice that this content area, so for the overview here, for example, this sort of animates in, looks like its height is being changed. And that's generally how you would achieve this effect for an accordion list, is you would animate the height of whatever content you want to display and hide. So when I want to display the overview, for example, I click on it, I'd animate the height of this area here from 0 to however tall it is. And then when I want to close it again, I do the reverse, I'll animate the height back to 0. Now for an accordion list like this, it probably won't lead to terrible performance. It'll probably still perform quite well under most circumstances, but the problem with this approach is that generally if you're animating anything except for transforms and opacity, you're probably going to run into a bit of trouble with performance. And height is especially bad if you're animating that, because what's going to happen with the browser is as we expand this, the browser is going to need to perform something called a layout, where basically it needs to calculate the position of elements on the screen. So since we are animating height, we're not actually animating height here, but if we were animating height, every time that height increases from 1 pixel to 2 pixels to 10 pixels and so on, the browser needs to work out where to display everything else on the screen, because changing the height will impact the position of everything else. And you can see that when we open something. We have the plot, for example. If I open characters, the plot gets pushed down, and so does production and awards and so on. And so the browser needs to work out where they need to be placed on the screen and then re-render that. So what I'm doing with this component is I'm not actually animating height at all. All I'm doing is animating transforms, even though it might look like we're doing a height animation here. And that allows us to achieve pretty good performance. And by pretty good, I mean actually really good. It's at least as far as I've tested, with sort of a 6 times throttling on the desktop, it's able to easily maintain 60 frames per second. I'll show you that in a little bit as well. So to achieve this is a little bit of a task. It's much more complicated than just animating height. So the point of this video is to sort of just give you a quick rundown of what's happening so I can show you visually on the screen and talk through it. And then if you want to actually implement this and see all of the code and how it works on a more sort of minute level, I have a blog post already that I'll link to, and you can check out all the code there, and I also explain it a bit more there as well. So this all works with a bit of smoke and mirrors, really. It's a trick to how it works. And what basically happens is that when we expand something, rather than animating this content area in, rather than animating it from 0 to however big it is, instead we move everything else out of the way. And this is where it sort of gets a bit hard to explain, but for example, if I want to open characters, what I will do is I'll click on characters, and then immediately the content for that is going to be displayed behind the other items in the list. And then we'll take this plot, production, and awards, and we'll translate them with the transform down to reveal the content that was just immediately popped in. And so the easiest way to actually see this is probably to have a look at the code itself, and we're going to make some modifications to sort of make the behind the scenes stuff a bit more obvious. So I'm going to lower the opacity of some elements here, and there's also an extra invisible element down here that serves an important role as well. So I'll talk through that, and we're going to make that element visible by making it red or something like that. So I'm going to jump into the code now, and what I'm going to do is first I'll get up the component for the individual items. And this is all available in the blog post, but I'll just quickly show you the general idea of how this works. So basically we have a My Accordion group component, and inside of that we have My Accordion items. And we can just fill those with whatever we like, and they're going to appear as the content in the list. And to supply the title for it, you just use the header slot. And for the content, you use the content slot. And it's also worth noting that currently this is for Stencil.js, but a lot of the concepts are almost identical in other frameworks because we are heavily relying on the Ionic Animations API, as you can see here. So whether you're using that in Stencil or Angular, React, it's going to be very similar anyway. So this should translate pretty well to other frameworks. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is find the Ion item here, and let's just try set that to, say, opacity 0.5. So that's going to make that sort of see-through for us, which will be useful. And let's also make that invisible element that I mentioned, we will make that visible as well. So I'll go into the Accordion group here, I have an element with a class of blocker. And so the sort of one, I guess, downside to this approach is that you can only use a page with a solid background color, so like white or any other color you can choose. And I'll try to explain that a little bit more. So you can see this blocker element here. The point of this blocker element is to stop content from leaking out the bottom of the list. So if we make characters visible, for example, if that was really long, it would extend past the bottom of the list. And before we perform our animation, we're just going to see this content popping up below the accordion list, which isn't ideal. So we have this blocker element, and what that does is it will set itself to the height of whatever content is being shown, and it's at the bottom, and so that's going to make sure nothing can ever leak out the bottom. But this needs to have a solid color in order to block the content. It can't just be transparent. So if you had, for example, a background with an image or just a gradient or something like that, it's going to be really obvious that you have this weird block at the bottom. So this component's going to work best if you have just a solid color background. Okay, so now that we can see things a bit better, let's try to again have a look at what's going on. So what I'm going to do is just set this to 10% speed on the animations and see what happens. So I'll just open characters, and things still kind of happen a bit quickly, but I'll close that again. And so you can see what happens is if I just play and then quickly pause that. There we go, I'll just go back to the start of the animation there. You can see that when I click that, you can see this content pops in behind the other items immediately. So we're not animating the height of this content, we just instantly pop it in, which means we're not going to run into browser performance issues there because we're not animating height. And then after that content has popped in, we grab all the elements that are below the one being opened, including the blocker, and then we just translate them down with a transform. We just move them out of the way, basically. And so in moving them out of the way, that sort of gives the appearance that this content area is growing, but really it's not. It's just the same size the whole time. And it's more or less the same thing in reverse as well. So if I close this again, we just translate everything back up first, and then the content just immediately disappears as soon as it's covering up the content again. And to achieve that, as I mentioned, we're basically just making use of the Ionic Animations API here. So what actually happens when we open an item? So we click it, and the sort of, I guess, trickery happening here is that we run this code here. I'm not going to talk through it all in detail now because it's in the blog post, but basically we look for the item that's being opened. So if I'm opening characters, we find that. And then we create a new array called elements to shift, and that's going to be every element that's below the one being opened. And then we just do some animations on those. And so you can see here the shift down animation, what we do is, we actually deal with a kind of tricky problem here. So what happens when we show that content, that's going to take up space in the DOM. So if we just did nothing, if we just showed this content, it's not going to display behind everything, it's going to push everything down immediately, which we don't want. So to counteract that, we have some before styles here in the Ionic animation. So we're saying before we play this animation, we want to apply some styles to it. So its new location is down here. These three elements are down here. So we want to translate those back up into their normal positions as if they'd never moved, even though they kind of have. The thing is, the user will never see that though. They won't see this plot production and awards moving down and then shifting back up. It'll just appear as though it's never moved, but it has changed. Instead of just being in its normal position now, it's actually down here, but it's been translated back up to its original position. And then once we have it in that translated position, then we just animate it back to its normal position, which is now its new position down here. And when that translate is removed, we animate it over whatever time we specify in the open animation time here. That's just going to ease down and reveal the content behind it. And that's probably, I don't know, it's pretty hard to wrap your head around, I think. And even explaining in a video like this, I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But maybe we can play around with it a little bit here just to show you what I mean. So we'll keep the 10% animation speed, and we'll keep all the opacity down and all that stuff so we can see what's going on behind the scenes. So let's see what happens, for example. First of all, let's just we just won't play any animations. Hopefully I don't break anything there. So if I refresh this now and click characters, you can see everything just immediately just pops down instantly. So that's what happens when we set that display style for the content area to block. So we're not animating the height, it's just instantly in the DOM with the block styling, and so it just pushes everything down immediately. So let's bring that animation back now, but let's say we get rid of our before styles. So now, instead of modifying the styles before the animation plays, we'll just immediately try to play the animation we wanted. It's not going to work, of course, but let's just see what happens. So if I click characters now, you see it's already in that position. There's nothing to sort of animate to, so we don't get that effect of it sliding down. And let's bring those back. So now we have the before styles. So now before we play the animation, we want to shift that element up the amount that it was shifted down. So this content popping in is going to shift this down. Maybe that's, I don't know, 100 pixels or whatever. We work that out dynamically. So we know it's been shifted down 100 pixels. So we want to shift it back 100 pixels before the animation begins. And then we want to play it and animate it into this position. So now if I play it again, you can see that effect happening. Now there's one more sort of trick to this, which I will cover in the video because I think it's important. And you can see here that I'm doing some positioning, and I have a Z index of 1 and a position of relative. And this is kind of just a bit of a workaround to get this blocker displaying how we want. So as I said, the point of the blocker is to stop content from leaking out the bottom. So why don't we go back here. And what I'm going to do is just copy out a bunch of new characters, just so it's long enough to go out the bottom of the list. I think that should be enough. All right, so if I open characters now, it's kind of hard to see with the animation playing, but what I might do is get rid of the blocker. You can see there, actually, when I close it, it's quite easy to see that this content comes out the bottom of the list and it's getting chopped off by this blocker. Now, if we remove the blocker, I'll just set that to display none. Let's give that a refresh. So now if I open it, you can see that that content immediately just pops out the bottom of the list because it instantly pops in, and then this stuff moves out of the way. If we don't have enough items to cover the size of the content so that it won't leak out the bottom, then it's going to look like this, and that's just going to look pretty bad, having our content leak out like that. So that is the point of the blocker. But another issue we have here, and I might just get rid of that extra content. Another issue we have here is that as we want the blocker to be on top of the content here so that it blocks it out, but we want it to be behind everything else. And the problem is, we're just with Z index, we can't you can use Z index usually to sort of arrange the order, the stacking order of things in the DOM. So if you want one thing to be above another, you could use Z index. You could give the one you want to be higher a Z index of 2 and another a Z index of 1, and that one's going to be above the other, and it will usually sort of break the normal stacking order of the DOM if you had to just put your elements in there and they just display how they will. The problem with this is that if we are using a transform, it changes the normal sort of stacking behavior and order of the DOM. And so to get what we want, this is kind of just a bit of a trick, but we use position relative because on these elements that are being shifted, because elements that are positioned will be stacked above those that aren't positioned with the position property. So that's why we add that in there. That's really, I guess, kind of a bit of a little CSS trick or hack or something like that. But it does the job, so that is good for us. So I'm going to get rid of our little testing changes now. I am done with explaining it now, I think. Again, the blog post goes into quite a bit of detail and talks through all of the code, so I'd recommend checking that out and coding along if you want to. But just before we go, I'll show you a quick performance profile. Let me set this back to 100% animation speed. I'll show you a performance profile of this thing working and show you the kind of frame rate that it's getting. So if we head to the performance tab, we can set CPU to 6 times slowdown. So what this is going to do essentially is make the processing power that's displaying this animation, it's going to make that 6 times slower. So basically it's as if this component is 6 times worse than it actually is. So it's good to test like that because we can sort of more easily see where problem areas might be. And if we can get good performance at a sort of 6 times slowdown, then it's a pretty good indication that our component's pretty well designed. So let's just start recording. And I'll just open up a few things here. And we'll hit stop. And so we can see here, if we look at where the animation's occurring, if we scroll through these frames, we mostly get around 62 frames per second. There are a couple there. That one's 56. I think I saw a 44 down there as well. If we look at this one, that's pretty good. This is pretty much constant 60 frames per second the whole time. But you also notice that we have this little bit at the start where it's a bit slower. And we're sort of making use of this technique where we do a lot of the calculations and a lot of the work up front before the animation plays, so then the animation can play smoothly after. And so if we look at that time that is slow, we can see that in this case that's about 65 milliseconds. In this one it's even smaller than that, 38 milliseconds. And so there's this sort of time frame of around 80 to 100 milliseconds where we can do stuff. Say a user can click on something and we can just do nothing. We could just calculate stuff behind the scenes and not actually react to what the user's doing. And as long as that's below around that sort of 80 milliseconds, the user isn't going to notice. So we can make use of that 80 milliseconds to do a bunch of calculations and hard CPU work up front, and then we can just perform the animation smoothly after that. So it's kind of like pre-calculating the animation in a sense. We do work up front so that we can just animate with transforms instead of needing to animate with height. So there's quite a lot of information in here. I made this video because it's hard to explain in text, and it's still hard to explain what's happening in video as well, I think. Maybe that's my fault, but I hope this did clear up the general technique here a little bit. And again, if you want to see this in full and you want to grab the source code, you can do that over at the blog post for this tutorial. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.